Welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio, where truth equals reality, and truth is often stranger than fiction.
Hello everyone, welcome to Paranormal Palace Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man, and joining me today is going to be Susan Shumsky, and we're going to be discussing her newest book, Instant Healing. And before we do that real quick, I'd like to remind you folks to, make sure to invite your friends and stop on by www.paranormalpalace.com. If y'all have any questions, feel free to hop in the chat room here. It's free of charge, and ask your questions, or you can call in at 832-632-7904. And I've actually done a little bit of a disservice here because I thought I had Susan's link on the web page here under her picture like I always do, and I somehow missed that, but maybe I can Google that while she's on the air with me. Just let me go ahead and bring her in and join us real quick like.
Hello.
Hello, Susan?
This is Susan.
Yeah, hi, Susan. This is Royce at Paranormal Palace Radio.
Well, hi.
Hi, I didn't call too early, did I?
No.
Okay, perfect. Well, I've got us live on the air now. I've already did the introduction, so we're pretty much ready to go. And I thought we could start this out by you giving everybody, telling everybody a little something about yourself and what got you interested in writing this book.
Well, I've been practicing spiritual disciplines for 45 years. I spent 22 years in an ashram. That means a place where you go to study with a spiritual master from India, with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was the guru of the Beatles and of Deepak Chopra. And I was on his personal staff for 7 of those 22 years. And so I spent a lot of time in deep meditation. During that period of time, up to anywhere between approximately 5 to 20 hours a day, I would meditate. Rarely would it be 20 hours a day, but a lot of times it would be up to 5 hours approximately a day. And then I spent, after I left that ashram, and that was a very long time ago, after I left that ashram, I spent another more than 2 decades studying New Thought, metaphysics, became a doctor of divinity, and continued to study and learn all the time, And I have written and have been published 8 books. I've been published 8 times. My latest book is Instant Healing. And why I wrote this particular book was because I had previously written another book called Miracle Prayer. And in Miracle Prayer, I talked about 9 steps to create prayers that get results. And that book is about how to compose prayers that really work, that are very effective, and that have been proven to be effective for the past 150 years in all over the world by millions of people. And what I realized was that not everybody really wants to learn how to do this process, learn all the details and, the step-by-step how to do that. What I found was that people, really what they need is a book where they can just go to the appendix and find whatever the difficulty happens to be or whatever it is that they want to manifest in their life, and then turn to that page and just read the prayer audibly, and then just sit back and watch the miracles happen. And in fact, this book, Instant Healing, has been very favorably received and accepted and reviewed. And many, many people are reporting to me all the time that they're getting really positive results, instant results from the book, and that already they're carrying it around everywhere. It's dog-eared. And people are really making use of this book in powerful and positive ways to change their lives instantaneously. So I'm very gratified to see how it's going for people.
So you might call this sort of a, in a sense, a prayer book, only it's kind of like a instruction guide to prayer book combined?
Actually, it isn't an instruction guide to prayer. It's very, very brief instructions.
Well, that's what I meant was the brief ones.
In a sense, yes. It's a very, very brief guide to how to use these prayers, which basically is to just go to the page and read it audibly, and that's how you get the results. The results are instantaneous when the person uses these what I call affirmative prayers, or sometimes they're called treatments, sometimes they're called prayer treatments, sometimes they're called spiritual mind treatments. And why they're called treatments is because you're healing or changing your thoughts and emotions when you read these formulas. And some people might just call them affirmations, but when you think of an affirmation, you think of just like a one line, something very short. These are a little longer than that. Some of them have just a few lines. Some of them are entire, what we call prayer treatments, which go on and on for a page or two. You know, they're longer. But they do produce instant results, and they're very, very powerful. Every prayer in this book, and there's 243 prayers in the book, Instant Healing, and they're all really powerful.
And they cover just about everything you can imagine to think of that you might need prayer for. What about, like, say, things like cancer or emphysema or anything like that? Right.
So the answer is yes. So the thing is that there's many chapters in the book. There's 17 chapters. And if you don't mind, I'll just read the heading so you can get an idea of all the different things that are covered.
Okay.
Chapter 1 is gaining inner strength and empowerment. Chapter 2 is healing emotions and deep-seated belief. Chapter 3, healing and forgiving relationships. Chapter 4, overcoming addictions and codependency. Chapter 5, dispelling illusions and false perceptions. Chapter 6, becoming all you can be. Chapter 7, healing environmental static. Chapter 8, healing entities and vampires. Chapter 9, overcoming enemies and saboteurs. Chapter 10, making your space into a cathedral. Chapter 11, living in perfect health. Chapter 12, magnetizing love. Chapter 13, attracting prosperity. Chapter 14, making life a success. Chapter 15, enjoying happiness. Chapter 16, transforming the planet. And Chapter 17, creating heaven on earth. So all of these, everything I could think of that I thought people would want help with, would want prayer help with, would want to pray for, to create change in their life, to transform their life, to better their life. Whatever I could think of, I wrote a prayer for that. So 243 prayers in total. It's really powerful, and it works.
That's a lot of prayers for a lot of different purposes. How long has this book been out now?
It came out in January.
January.
Just came out, in other words, yeah.
Okay. Well, I got to tell you cover quite a bit of stuff in there from, like you say, medical ailments to emotional ailments. Some of this stuff you get covered in a lot of different churches as well, don't you?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that question?
I said some of these prayers and these little short guides aren't they also covered in, say, like some of the old time Catholic churches and Gnostic churches?
Actually, these prayers are all original except for maybe less than 5 of them. One of them is used every Sunday in Unity Church and Religious Science or Centers for Spiritual Living Church. And that particular prayer is the one that goes like this. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever God is, we are, and all is well. that particular prayer is written by the poet laureate of the Unity Church, which is a New Thought or metaphysical, whatever you want to call it, New Age New Thought church that's very popular all over the world, and that prayer is very well known. It's used in many, many churches. That's one of the very few prayers that's in here that was composed by someone else. All the rest of these 243 prayers I did compose, almost all of the other ones. There are a few that were composed by, a handful that were composed by some of my mentors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I see here you got... Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I see you got one here for thought form healing. You want to tell us a little something about that?
Right, thought form healing. Okay, so that is a really powerful prayer that can help you to heal anything. Actually, it's one of the prayers that I use the most. And I'm using these prayers all the time for myself and for other people. But this one I use really a lot. And I use it, in fact, in the context of the other prayers, because it is a universal formula for healing and releasing negative thoughts and emotions. So the idea of this prayer is that what you can feel, you can heal. So if you can get in touch with what you're feeling at the moment, with any negative thoughts and emotions that are going through your mind at the moment, then you can release those negative thoughts and emotions, and you can replace them instantly with positive thoughts and emotions. And it seems kind of crazy. It seems like, how could this possibly work? But the reality is, if you try it, you'll find out that it does work. So what you do is basically you close your eyes for a few moments and you get in touch with whatever it is that's coming up for you at the moment, and you affirm that you release it and let it go. And then you affirm the opposite of that. For example, if you're feeling anger, then just as one emotion, all right, so you're angry or resentful, then you get in touch with that anger and you just release it and let it go. And then you replace it with, for example, peace, love, different kinds of emotions that are the opposite of that anger. And it actually works. I mean, it doesn't seem like it would work, but it actually works. Okay. So that is a really powerful, powerful prayer. And if you like, I can say or state that prayer if you think your listeners would be interested in that.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. So what I'd like the listeners to do is, there's going to be a space in the prayer where I'm going to ask you to just close your eyes and get in touch with the negative thoughts and emotions that are coming up for you. And you'll just say those out loud. These prayers are all done audibly. They're not done in your head. They're done audibly. You say them out loud. So I'm going to ask you to just say the negative thoughts. And then there's going to be a second space during the prayer, and I'm going to ask you to say the opposites of those negative thoughts. In other words, if you said fear, then in the second portion you would say something like courage or inner strength or something like that. That is the opposite of fear. All right, so do you understand the instructions? Have I made the instructions clear enough? Have I?
Yeah, that seemed pretty clear to me.
Okay. So let's just begin with what we'll do is we'll just take a deep breath. Breathe in and let it go. And then another deep breath, a deep breath of divine love. Breathe in and release. So we now call upon the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth and wholeness, to bring forth the light of divine truth, divine energy, divine wisdom, and divine strength into the situation right here and right now. And we now let go and release from our mind all limiting thoughts and emotions that no longer serve us. So now, let us get in touch with these negative thoughts and feelings, and we're going to be stating those out loud. So just take another deep breath, breathe in, close your eyes, and just say out loud whatever limiting thoughts and feelings are coming up for you at this time. Just say those out loud, whatever that be. It might be fear, anger, limitation, frustration, anxiety. Just say whatever is coming up for you right here, right now.
Okay, now I don't have any coming up right here, right now. I have had at times, but...
That's okay. So just say those right now. And we now affirm that these are gone. They are lifted into the light of God's love and truth, and they are gone. And we know now, for and with every individual on this call, that we now replace these limiting thoughts and feelings with positive, powerful feelings and emotions. And now state the positive feelings such as love, peace, happiness, light, fulfillment, truth. Just say whatever is the opposite of the feelings that you said before. And we now know for each and every person on this call, as we're saying these positive thoughts and emotions, just say them out loud, say them audibly. We now know that we welcome these positive thoughts and emotions into our lives right here and right now. And we are in control. We are the only authority in our lives. We are divinely protected by the light of our being. We know that all is well, that all is perfect and in divine order. And we thank God that this is so now, and so it is. So be it.
Okay.
So now, having done this, and I sense now that there is a more positive vibration, a positive feeling, and that there has been an instant healing from this prayer. So this is a really powerful prayer, and it really works.
All right. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to also remind everybody that your website address is www.divinerevelation.org. And also, if you scroll further down below the chat room, you'll see her picture and her description and the description of her book, and you'll also see a link to the book. This will be put up in the archives tomorrow or the next day as soon as I get caught up. I'm still behind from the time I spent in the hospital. I haven't caught up yet, but as soon as I'm able to, I'll get all that put in the archives, and I'll put the next show up for, actually, Monday we have a show coming up, and I hope everybody can make that show. We'll be talking about Texas Lights, a book I put out by Mark Sema. But at any rate, back to this show. Also, don't forget to call in numbers 832-632-7904. Feel free to call in, ask questions. If you're in the chat room, if you'll put your question in the chat room, I'll make it a point to ask the author, what the question is. So I was also going to mention to you that in the book you've also talked about overcoming substance abuse and addiction. You had a prayer in there for that one as well. I thought maybe you could tell a little something about that one, because we know that, America and the rest of the world's got a big problem with addiction.
Right. Unfortunately, addiction is a big issue. And a lot of the reason why people have addiction is because of kind of a hypersensitivity. They feel that they cannot cope with the vibrations around them in this world filled with negative thoughts, feelings, emotions that unfortunately I find that people who are addicted are usually what I call psychic sponges. That means they're absorbing the vibrations around them as a sponge absorbs water. They feel drained by the people and circumstances and energies in their environment, and they're feeling that people around them are draining them and circumstances are draining them. And they feel like by the end of the day, all they can do is just lie down on their bed and collapse from the exhaustion of the day's draining influence. That would be what I call a psychic sponge. Many people who are prone to addiction are people who are psychic sponges. They're trying to escape from these negative energies around them by resorting to substances or other kinds of addictions. The only way they can really cope. So that's why it's important to attain and maintain balance in their life, and to overcome overwhelm, and to overcome hypersensitivity. And these are some of the prayers that are included in this chapter. The chapter is called Overcoming Addictions and Codependency. And I have prayers on overcoming addictive behavior, overcoming cigarette addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction, overcoming caffeine, sugar, stimulants, narcotics, substance abuse, gambling addiction, sex addiction, freedom from codependency, workaholism, and so on. So if you'd like, I can read one of the first prayers in this chapter if you think that people would be interested in this subject.
I'm pretty sure there's bound to be somebody out there who's going to be interested in this with the addiction that's going on in the world today. Right.
So here's one that really the underlying cause, I believe, is this kind of hypersensitivity. So let us, I'll do a prayer for overcoming this hypersensitivity, which you can use anytime you feel drained or overcome or shaken or distraught by the circumstances that are out of your control in your life. And when the world appears to be falling apart, when it seems impossible to get a grip on reality, that this prayer can help. So it goes like this. I am in control. I am filled with the light of God. I allow that light to fill and engulf me now. The light of God vibrates and radiates within me and all around me. That light brings adamantine invincibility. I am a rock, a pillar of strength, for the strength of God's power is within me and at my command. Nothing and no one can shake my immovable center of being. I stand steadfast and sure in God's love. I'm a radiant being of light, filled with the glory that God is. Thank you, God, and so it is.
So it also deals with, from the sound of the prayer, with confidence, in other words.
Right.
It helps to build the confidence to overcome these type of things?
Right. Right. And to overcome the hypersensitivity that I was talking about, really. Because that hypersensitivity, I believe, in many cases is the reason that people are resorting to substance abuse or to other addictive behavior.
And that would probably apply more to somebody, I wouldn't say more. I don't know what the right word would be. But if you knew somebody, for example, that seemed to be prone to multiple addictions, that was easily overwhelmed, this would be something they would probably really strongly want to look into, wouldn't it?
It would help them, for sure. You know, I mean, addiction is not an easy thing to overcome, but with time and with some effort and energy into that, and with using the prayers that are in this book, and with going to a program such as AA or a program, definitely they can overcome.
Right. Well, me personally, I hadn't had a lot of faith in AA, but I understand a lot of people do have faith. I've actually been to meetings with friends of mine that were alcoholics. Mm-hmm. Now, me, I haven't drank in 5 years, and even when I did drink, I didn't, I very seldom ever got drunk, I put it to you that way. I was just, I was somebody just like to take a sip here and a sip there, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
So, but not everybody, drinks like that, and some people it gets them into real trouble, in other words. So,
right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's very true.
That's what I was thinking about it, because I've known some other people that did have a really serious case, and I seen people, and I heard people talk about it in these meetings, and I failed to see how the meetings were helping, but then too, for one thing, because they taught that you can never overcome, that you can just, keep coming to the meetings and keep the urges at bay, And I thought, well, it seemed to me like you should be able to find some kind of help somewhere where you can overcome it completely, in other words.
Yes, I do believe that people can overcome it completely. And I believe that, I also believe that the AA and other programs, I mean, AA is not the only program. I just mentioned AA is one of the programs, but these programs can really help because they provide a support system. And people often need a support system when they're feeling very incapacitated, when they cannot be entirely self-sufficient. They need help. They need a sponsor. They need a meeting. And I think that's good. I mean, it's a good thing that these things exist to help people. And it does help millions of people. So I'd say that it is effective. And the prayers in the book Instant Healing can really help and support people who need to overcome this.
Yeah. And I think it would be best if people, if they could, manage to overcome it completely, because if you ever allow yourself to go back into it, you're just in an endless vicious cycle, in other words, and nobody wants to be in that kind of cycle.
Yeah, well, I mean, often it isn't just themselves. It's a whole familial situation. You know, it's something that they've learned. This behavior is learned. It isn't just something that it's rare that a person just, suddenly I become an addict, when they don't come from that kind of background where they learned it from other people. I mean, it's something that people learn, and they can unlearn it. They can overcome it.
That's interesting.
And yeah, they can overcome it, and it's possible to do that. So this is just one of the many, many topics and things that are covered in my book, Instant Healing. Things that people can overcome, things that people can heal for themselves.
So if I understood what you were saying correctly, and it makes a lot of sense to me, if you're, say, for example, brought up in a kind of family where, say, people are prone to giving into their emotions and going to emotional extremes, the odds are you're going to mimic this behavior when you're older and married, and maybe even for your own kids, etc.?
Sure. I mean, we learn from our environment. You know, we definitely learn behaviors, and we learn how to deal with the world from the people around us. We are brainwashed to believe in certain ways, and those ways don't change unless we do something to change them. And this method has been proven effective for millions of people to help them to change. This method called what I call scientific prayer or affirmative prayer. It's a method that has been used for 150 years by millions of people to create all kinds of miracles in their lives. And it works. So that's the reason why I'm very excited about this book and what it can do for people. Instant healing really means instant healing. You will immediately feel better when you read one of these, what we call scientific prayers or affirmative prayers. You're going to feel better. And if you continue to work with that prayer on a daily basis, or from time to time whenever that is coming up for you, the thing that you want to change or transform, if you work with it over and over, you're going to find that eventually you will get a permanent healing, a permanent change in your life, and you'll have a new life, a life that is more prosperous, more joyous, more fulfilled, filled with greater love, greater happiness, and so on, all the things that people want. We can attain these. We just need to work at it a little bit. I mean, saying a prayer is not really that hard. You just, all you have to do is you just turn to the page and you just say the prayer audibly, and immediately you get some relief, you get some healing. And these prayers really work.
So these would be good books to pass around to friends in church or friends at work or friends anywhere you go, at school even maybe, huh?
That's for sure. That's a great gift. It's a great thing to give to people because it's going to change their lives. It's going to make them feel better if they're willing to do it.
Well, do you have this out in ebook format?
Yes, it's on Kindle also. You can get it at Amazon.com.
Because I know in today's world,
and,
everybody's going Kindle because